non-smoker rate, because then that would be effectively telling the truth. And they said no. And they went to court, and she lost. So it's better to just pay the correct amount, because
otherwise it's a waste.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is there a rule of thumb still on how much insurance one should carry?
That's a good question. The insurance company won't let you over-insure, and also you have to have an insurable interest. Well, yeah. I mean, think about it. You make $20,000 a year, and you want a $20 million
policy.
No, you can't do that while you're wearing a suicide bomber jacket.
Right.
No, there are limits to that.
We're attending lots of Raider games.
Yeah. Generally speaking, as a general rule of thumb, 10 times the amount of your income is fairly safe. But a lot of it's going to be premium driven.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you just can't afford the premium, then you don't do it. I mean, but it's amazing how cheap this stuff really is, though. I mean, it's dirt cheap term insurance, and you want to get one. I would say that you really should get one for a good 10 to 15 years, because if you get one for 5 years, even though it's cheaper, it's amazing how fast it comes up. And then when you're 5 years older, suddenly you're a lot more surprised at how much the insurance is.
Especially the older you get, time goes by faster the older you get.
Yeah. All right, we are going to cut to our second commercial break. And again, anybody wanting a free evaluation of their life insurance, I'd be glad to give them a call after the show. 888-912-1190, and I'll give you the quotes for new policies if you want. No problem at all. All right. So here's our second trivia question, and again, what's the topic? Unusual sports stories.
Sports.
You guys will like this one.
Questions Brian won't know.
No, you might know this one. Okay.
Oh, okay.
In 1994, Tonya Harding was accused of hiring a hitman to take out the knee of her rival skater. Who was this rival skater? It's almost like Daytona 500, right?
Yeah, almost.
Okay, it's almost like NASCAR.
Yeah.
The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouseforfun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. In 1994, Tonya Harding was accused of hiring a hitman to take out the knee of her rival skater. Who was this rival skater? Call 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, address, email address, and phone number. And please speak slowly and spell it all out for us. And we will be right back. Oh, I heard a funny story. This guy told me about burning tires. This guy decided, I'm going to have this. He bought this piece of land, and it was lots and lots of acres in Modoc County, which is somewhere down south, right? So he was charging people like $1 or 50 cents a tire to dump your tires, and then it was like $1, and then $1.50, right? And he got 6 million tires. 6 million tires on the thing, right? Oh. And the problem is, if you think about it, you take the rim out, right? And you got this hollow thing, right? Yeah. Well, it rains and it stops raining, and what happens? Stagnant water, all these mosquitoes and all. And apparently there was so much environmental damage because of this. It was going to cost them $6 million to clean it up. Oh. So what he did was he started lighting it on fire, and it burned for 3 years. Those tires.
Are you kidding me?
Tires keep burning.
Yeah, it's hard.
Isn't that wild?
It's hard to put that out.
And then he committed suicide. Going, sign up for this, right?
That wasn't long ago. They were doing that in L.A. a couple of years ago, and there was these older ladies. They were getting life insurance policies on these homeless people, and then running them over with cars. This was just a couple of years ago in L.A. County.
That's why you have to have like a business. Like if we're in business together, that's an insurable interest.
Right.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money and Brian Burke of Praxis Capital. When we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question, and again, the theme is unusual sports stories. In 1994, Tonya Harding was accused of hiring a hitman to take out the knee of her rival skater. Who was this rival skater? Now, this time it's not Joe Montana, but you do know the answer.
Well, I think it's Nancy Kerrigan.
It is Nancy Kerrigan.
And I didn't even copy off of Mark's paper this time. I usually have to look over there.
Well, I tell you, it's pretty close to NASCAR, right? Skating.
Is it? Oh, because they go in circles, right?
They go in circles, that's right. Okay. Mark, you had gone to an interesting conference. Tell us what's going on in some real estate.
Well, first let's talk about what's happening lately in real estate. You know, anecdotally, you know, since I'm in the lending business and I'm lending to real estate investors who are buying, fixing, and flipping, going back to the fourth quarter, there were an awful lot of long faces in the industry because sales were really down. The fourth quarter of 2011, in my opinion, may end up being, you know, the absolute trough in the real estate industry. And what I'm seeing is an awful lot of optimism in the market. In fact, I've been talking to a lot of real estate agents who are telling me that they've got an awful lot of more properties in contract right now than they had a month ago or several months ago or last year at this time.
But are they going to close now?
Well, yeah, that's it. So the statistics for new contracts are up. And then this report just came out yesterday, in fact. It says Bay Area home sales rose last month being January, to the highest level for January in 5 years. Now, the downside of that, if you want to look at this as a downside, we could talk a little bit more about that, is it goes on to say that the median price paid for a home fell year over year for the 16th consecutive month as distressed sales rose to the highest level. So distressed sales are basically REO and short sales, and they've been making up about 50% of market sales. So
and usually those are the lower price tier.
Right, right. So
that's amazing, though. 50%.
But 50%, wow. Yes. So, but that whole concept of median price, I think, is one of the least understood concepts in real estate, because it doesn't necessarily mean that the value of your home or any investment property that you own went down. It just means that the mid-level, that there were just as many homes sold above that so-called median price as below that.
What was the mean and what was the mode? I'm bringing up my statistics.
Mean, median, mode, right, and average and all of
so
those.
So this means that half the houses sold for below that price and half sold for above. So if people are buying in that lower price tier,
concentrated in the lower price range.
Yeah.
So
it is misleading.
Right, it is. So, but that's the good news, and so we've got an increase in the level of activity. We've got increases in contracts. Now, of course, I know that last year at this time there was a pretty fair amount of bullishness. But the difference between this year and last year is last year most of the articles were predicting price declines anywhere from 5 to 10%, depending on what market you were in. This year, I'm not seeing that. So I think that there's a lot of, and again, this is anecdotal support. This is just my observations based on the level of lending activity and the conversations I'm having in the industry. But there seems to be support for possibly having hit bottom. And does that mean appreciation is around the corner? No, not necessarily. But I think if the public doesn't believe that prices are going to go down further, they're going to start buying again. They're going to.
I wonder how. Last month the stock market had been doing a lot of rallying. Do you think a lot of that has to do with confidence?
I don't think too much. It seems to me like we're in the market every day as both buyer and seller, as we're buying, fixing, and flipping houses in this area. And what I've noticed is that as Mark indicated last year at this time, the newspaper articles were all predicting these price declines, and what we were seeing is, in actuality, those price declines had already begun, and we're about 3/4 of the way through when they first started talking about it, and it actually happened. Typical. So we actually got that 15 to 20% price reduction in the markets that we were in between the time of the tax credits expired in the middle of 2010 and the middle of 2011.
Well, wait, what about all the shadow inventory, the banks holding on to a lot of foreclosed properties they own now, the REOs? Are they going to just start now, if prices start going up, start feeding them into the market?
They are, and they're gonna. And there's another reason that they're going to do that, and we'll talk about that in a minute, as a result of a recent settlement between the state attorney general and the mortgage servicers. But I think the point is that the market did fall, like the newspaper articles were saying they were going to do. It had already happened.
Did it fall because they said it was going to fall, or did it fall because? Did the news make the market? It's really
it makes you wonder.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, there was some false demand created by the tax credit, right? That pushed some demand forward, and
like the clunkers.
Yeah,
maybe they should do cash for clunker houses.
Well, there's a thought. Maybe.
Well, they've come up with every other harebrained idea for, for
they've
trying
tried
to
to
solve
solve
it.
Well, GM though reported record profits.
They did, yeah. That's right. That just came out. Yeah.
So tell us about that, Brian. The
new
government programs.
You know, in October of 2010, lenders got caught red-handed in doing what it's widely now known as the robo-signing scandal. But really, what it was in judicial foreclosure states, lenders were required to sign an affidavit with the court saying that they had personal knowledge of the facts of this foreclosure, and they were signing these without reading them and without any personal knowledge, and they got busted. Well, after that happened, the attorneys general of all 50 states gathered together and launched an inquiry into what was going on, and the lenders decided that they didn't want the risk of foreclosing on loans that they were conducting improperly, so they started to back off the foreclosures over the last year to year and a half, and we've seen a dramatic decline in foreclosure activity during that period of time. Well, just recently, the attorneys general negotiated with these lenders a $35 billion settlement, and they're going to be utilizing most of that money for what they're saying is principal reductions, but what I believe that's going to actually translate to is more approvals of short sales and calling the difference between what they approved as a short sale price and what they were owed, and calling that a principal reduction and applying that towards that balance. So
it's like a bank bailout then?
Well, it's intended to be a homeowner bailout, really, but I don't think it's going to bail anybody out. I think it's just another government program that sounds really good and doesn't translate to a lot of real-world results. But now that this investigation isn't hanging over the heads of these lenders, they're going to feel more confident that they've spent the last year perfecting their practices and getting their paperwork in order, and they can now start getting back to the business of foreclosing. And that's going to bring the foreclosure level up. It's not so much the pricing, it's the fact that lenders are kind of in the clear now.
Okay. And guys, we're going to cut to our third and final trivia question, commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get into email time. We've got a couple of really interesting emails, so audience, make sure you stay tuned with us. Okay, you ready? Unusual sports stories is our theme. Which St. Louis Cardinal missed the 1985 World Series due to a freak injury when the automatic tarp ran over his leg? I don't know if you remember that. The first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website again is lighthouse4fun.com. Check out them today because the weather's getting excellent. You're going to want to check them out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Which St. Louis Cardinal missed the 1985 World Series due to a freak injury when the automatic tarp ran over his leg? Again, 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, address, email address, phone number, and remember to speak slowly and spell it all out for us. And we'll be right back.
All right. You know, there was an interesting article in the Chronicle, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, that somebody had randomly selected, it was nearly 600 loan documents, and I don't know if this was just in the city of San Francisco or the Bay Area, I'm forgetting now where they got these loan documents on homes that had been foreclosed, and 80% of them contained errors.
Yeah, that was in Los Angeles.
Errors. Was it in LA? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it was in Los Angeles.
Probably by the same ladies who were running over the homeless people.
Probably, yeah. I just read that this morning, actually. That just came out.
I thought that was interesting. So now, but the settlement now, of course, that's part of the settlement, is protecting them against, that
from getting prosecuted.
From getting prosecuted.
Well, actually, what the way I interpreted that story was that the errors were not necessarily in the foreclosure process, but were primarily centered around the transfer of ownership of the loan.
Right, the assignment.
Yeah, the assignment of deed of trust. So
especially when they've been assigned multiple times, the trails.
And you see that a lot, actually. It's interesting. You'll see a deed of trust come out from, Bank ABC, and then you see the foreclosure, and it's deeded to Bank XYZ, and you wonder, well, how did it get from this bank to that bank? You never did see a...
Right, because you're still making the payment to the same loan servicing company on your mortgage, and you don't know how many times it may have transferred, quote, ownership.
True.
Yeah.
It's true.
I'm going to charge you for my...
Better get your little ladder.
My gym work.
Your ballet, yeah.
Or you can charge me for their workout.
Okay.
You ready? Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Brian Burke of Praxis Capital and Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money. When we cut to the third and final commercial break, we ask this trivia question. Again, unusual sports stories. Which St. Louis Cardinal missed the 1985 World Series due to a freak injury when the automatic tarp ran over his leg? Anyone?
No idea.
None.
Vince Coleman.
Still don't know.
Remember the Coleman stove? No, it has nothing to do with that. Okay. And let's see. Oh, email time. Here we go. All right. Mark, we received an email for you, and it says here, with the government rules, are you restricted to lend only to people who have the income to pay the loan back?
Good question. Well, my company, Pacific Private Money, also known as Pacific Private Money Loans, we make privately funded loans to real estate investors buying real estate or refinancing out of real estate all over the Bay Area. We typically, our business model is typically geared toward the real estate investor, not so much the homeowner. And the reason for that is because of, well, thanks to the slew of new regulations that have been passed as a result of the mortgage meltdown and the subprime meltdown. Congress saw fit to pass a bunch of laws intended to protect consumers who may be taken advantage of by those for those evil predatory lenders. And unfortunately for companies like mine, small companies